Hello, all you ghouls and goblins, and welcome back to another edition of Killer Cuts, or should I say another chapter? It's chapter 8 of Killer Cuts. We are your hosts. I'm Bobby Munson, and below me right there, the natural Astrid Pizarro. How are you doing, Astrid? Happy to see you.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful, especially now that we have another new slasher film to talk about, and very excited to be talking about the latest from Eli Roth, known as Thanksgiving. And wow, what timing we have because we managed to get this one recorded and ready to go out on Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the U.S. as well. Astrid, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Hopefully, Turkey Day is special for you today and everything. I'm not sure I'd recommend watching this movie on Thanksgiving unless you're as sadistic and stuff as I might be. But it's definitely not a sit around the table eating food and watching this one type film because just like many Eli Roth films, it's got the fair share of pretty gory scenes to it. Just so you know, as you see the ticker down below is letting you know this show has been pre-recorded. We do encourage you to leave us comments, questions, anything like that, either in the YouTube chat or over on the Twitch side. We will do our best to read those and get back to you in a very timely manner as well too. But let's get into Thanksgiving. As I mentioned, this one is directed by Eli Roth. For those of you not too familiar with Eli Roth, well, go and check him out. No, notoriously Cabin in the Woods, Hostel, things like that have been on the list. If you really want to get into a Green Inferno, which will just turn many people's stomachs if they go down the path of Eli Roth's Green Inferno, even more so than what this movie could possibly do. But this one here, I'll give a little background into it. So Thanksgiving originally was a fake movie trailer that Eli Roth had created. If anybody remembers the Grindhouse Pictures, and I'm not talking about the original Grindhouse from back in the decades and decades ago. I'm talking the one that was led by Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez back in I think it would have been the mid 2000s when those hit theaters. So what they did was they created Planet Terror and Death Proof coming out back to back in the same sitting. So you would go pay one movie ticket, you'd get to watch both these movies. And they did it up as if you were having the experience of a double feature back in the day with the old concession stand commercial that would come on. And of course, fake trailers, some of which have already been made into actual movies. Machete comes to mind as one that was made into an actual film that was originally a fake trailer that was shown in the theatrical releases to the Grindhouse Pictures. Now, when Eli Roth's version come in with Thanksgiving, I remember seeing this and thinking, it's kind of cool. I kind of want to see the Eli Roth's Thanksgiving slasher film now that I've seen this fake trailer. But lo and behold, years later, and it still had not happened. So I got a little bit giddy and excited when I heard that Eli Roth was finally putting this together. Would he be able to deliver on the goods? I knew gore-wise, definitely, and he didn't hold back on that. But in terms of like a slasher, especially a whodunit slasher, and being that it's themed around a holiday, well, holy shit, did he deliver? Like, and we're going to talk a lot about that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your initial thoughts going into this, Astrid, and what you thought of the movie?
Well, I didn't have that background story, so thank you because that definitely helped too. I feel like I have only seen the trailer maybe once, and I was curious about it, and I knew I wanted to watch it, but I didn't have an idea when I was going to watch it. But long story short, one of my coworkers told me, "Oh, I know you she knows I like horror movies, so she told me it's like, oh, I have a screening for Thanksgiving. Would you like to go with me?" And I said, sure. She's like, well, it's supposed to be wrestlers in there, so I figured wrestlers in horror movies. I know you're gonna want to go with me. And thankfully, it was somewhere that I already knew, so I was really happy when she told me about it. It was the first time I did it. The only other time that I'd done like a screening, but I had a little bit more of an idea about it was when I watched Fighting with My Family in a screening with my brother. So going into this, I didn't know what to expect. And being in a room full of wrestlers, even just like thinking of their reactions as it was happening, was like, I'm glad I'm not alone when this was happening. And can I say it exceeded my expectations? It really did, because I feel like I didn't know much about it, but I didn't want to look up much because I didn't want to get spoiled about it either. Being like, I don't know how many people were watching it at the time because I watched it before it even came out. I think like 2 or 3 days before it came out. So I was super excited, just thinking of like, it's a new horror movie. I'm like, good, I don't have to wait now for Halloween to get a new horror movie. Thanksgiving is gonna be the new thing now, even better. And at first, when it first started, I had that experience that I didn't know what to think about the movie as a whole, and then once it ended, I was like, "Holy crap! I just want to see this again now." It's just I loved it so much, and I love how like, we're trying to describe it after the movie ended, and I could say it just reminded me of a lot of like Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and shoot, and it's like not only that, but I was thinking I like the balance that it had between the gore and the whodunit, and then the funny parts of it as well, and the special effects too. Like there were so many great things about it. Feel like I had nothing negative to say about it.
Yeah, it's it did have that blend of comedy in there that helps balance a lot of it and helps really with a lot of the extreme gore because for a slasher film, this takes the gore up there, not because there's that many more deaths in it, just the severity of what you see in these deaths that happens. In fact, you don't really see like outside of the initial opening, you don't necessarily see anything immediately in terms of the deaths, but once they start happening, they hit hard and very quickly. We do see kind of the build up at the beginning, and we're going to start going into that. So I'm going to say right now is everybody's spoiler warning alert. As we're going into this part of the show, we have given you our thoughts that we both loved it. We both enjoyed it. Now we're going to break this down. Spoilers are ahead. So if you haven't seen Thanksgiving, check it out in theaters, wait till video, and then come back and see this. Or if you just don't have a problem being spoiled and you're still going to support the movie, that's on you. Because here we go with the spoiler portion of this. Movie starts out on the Thursday on Thanksgiving, I'm guessing, going into Black Friday of a year previous. So it's Thursday night. Guy's being told he's got to work. He's got to be ready because they're going to open the doors at midnight or whatever it is for Black Friday. And of course, there's, every bit of setup. You got a crowd of people outside ready to trample this place to the ground as soon as those doors open, because apparently people need their deals that badly that they're willing to step over people, beat them up and kill for it. But, it's a very unique world when that kind of stuff happens. And then we start to see other characters come in. So we got the main guy comes in to work his shift. His wife comes there to bring him some Thanksgiving food. We've got Patrick Dempsey's character, who is the local Sheriff Eric Newland, I believe is his name. And they can just see the messes being made. Your main core cast of kids comes into the picture. They're mocking the rival football team player that's standing outside, creating tension there. You've got your main girl, your final girl type thing, where she's got this one guy who likes her, and she's got the guy that she's with. So now they're kind of like setting up all this. There's reasons why everybody could have a motive. So nice touch right away, setting up your motives for multiple characters to make me suspicious. Because I'll tell you, for a good portion of this movie, while I had my questions about who was behind the mask, and at times questioned if it could be that person, I didn't know why, which is why I was like, I just don't know that that's who it could possibly be, because I don't know what the actual merit of their reasoning would be. And we'd find out, don't get me wrong, everything that I doubted about this movie got answered in a very, very nice way. So we see a lot of people getting hurt, trampled. We have, a guy who's about to be scouted for baseball scholarships and everything like that. He gets his arm crushed, his wrist broken. We have the guy who's working the shift. His wife gets trampled and killed. In fact, that was one of the initial gory scenes, was her hair getting caught in the wheel of that cart and then pulled away, and the scalp pulls off, and just, oh man, you knew you were in for a ride at that point. But that sets up the basis for this. I'm kind of curious what you thought with the Black Friday opening to this picture.
I thought it was so realistic though, because at this point, Black Friday used to be a Black Friday plan. Now at this point, it's Black Thursday because it's on Thursday instead of Friday. So it's very realistic of that point of, the security that we had in the front, the controlling of the crowd that we had in the front too. All the people trying to get something, because the main reason why all these people were kind of fighting to be in the store first is because I think it was the first 100 or so customers would get something for free because whatever they bought. So you have people already going for that certain item because it's a limited amount of it for them to get it to begin with. So it's like, why that's happening. If you look up just look up on social media, even places like TikTok or YouTube, you find clips of people fighting for their stuff when it comes to Black Friday specials. It's a thing. Like it's very very realistic in that aspect. And it's also the part of like not only that, but I think of places here, especially like Walmart, who will be open usually in Thanksgiving and Target, but usually Walmart gets more fights than Target does. But thinking of like the guy getting called into work and being told, hey, you have to work, and how full the store was, the chaos that happened. The guy, even one of the guys that was a security, when he opened the door, the people like rambling over him and he dies because we
Mhm.
were stumbling upon it. Like actually happened at a Walmart. So that's so like it's so realistic, the detailing that happened in just the opening scene alone. And thinking of like the chaos, like everything, and people fighting with each other, their arguments, they're like pulling hairs, they're like everything that happened in that opening scene. I kept thinking, I can picture this happening because it's happened. It's just different places where they just combine into this one opening scene. And at first, I was wondering about like the characters. I wasn't sure who would be like that final girl. That was my thought process. But I had a feeling of, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was four people that I knew it wasn't. I was thinking it is not Bobby. They're just the guy that you said that he was getting that baseball tryout soon. I knew it was not. There was another sheriff in town that was new that he just started around that week,
Yeah.
so I knew it wasn't him either. He was another one that was on my list, and then him. There's another one that, to put it like the continuum with the opening scene, the guy that get called into work because what happened with his wife getting killed that Black Friday. He leaves the company and he's campaigning for them to close on Thanksgiving Day and don't do Black Friday on Thanksgiving Day and do it after. So I knew he was off my list as well. So I automatically knew those three would not be it. And the other thing that they kind of insinuate because of the who done it is just the part of like, is it the boyfriend? So I automatically knew it was not the boyfriend. Those were the four people that were off my list from the get go. And I was thinking of like, I felt like I was playing Guess Who, and I was like, it's none of those four. I know that for sure. But one thing that I want to point out too, and this reminded me a lot of Terrifier. The final girl, I know for Terrifier is Lauren, and for this one, I think her name is Nell. This is the first time that I've seen them as final girls, and I can tell you they were incredible as final girls. And just thinking of like they're in that category for me now, that I hope to see more from them in horror somehow, to get to them for me, for see them again as final girls, because I love them so much and what they did. They were so like, even here in this one, her name in the movie is Jessica.
Yeah.
Like she was such a smart girl in this, even as a final girl. And one thing that I love about this too is the use of technology, because we had that same person, the killer behind all this, is using social media, using Instagram, because it has like an old Instagram layout, using Instagram and tagging the kids and like scaring them in that type of way, and telling them like you're a target by getting tagged on Instagram, and even going live to show off to people the deaths of all these people on their Instagram. And not only that, but thinking of like more towards the end when the police is trying to go after him and they think they got it, but he's actually just recording somewhere else and using his phone to reflect on the scene that is actually happening. So even thinking of like that use of technology and the location part of it, it's another aspect that I really, really loved in seeing like them like on social media. Oh, let's block this person, and still like it doesn't work. They still get tagged and everything keeps happening. I felt like it was such a smart way to include social media in this particular scenery.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I loved every aspect of that as well too, especially when they're like, "Oh, we've got him." And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, "No, you don't." I'm like, "This
Yeah.
killer is one step ahead of you guys, if not two steps ahead of you guys at all times." And he's got a trick up his sleeve. And as soon as they got there, and I see the phone on a stand, looking at a screen, I'm like, "Clever." That's fantastic. And I loved a lot of like what they did to build towards the final, and then to give you the reasoning behind the finale, and we'll talk about that in a second here. But let's talk about some of the death scenes first of all, because
Yeah.
holy shit. I love the costume. I love the pilgrim costume with the John Carver mask, and them even referring to the killer as John Carver. So we've kind of established a name for said killer, and I think the look, the style, great, fantastic. But man, some of those death scenes, like first of all, the one that gets it real bad near, like one of the first kills was the one in the restaurant there, and you'd seen that her picture showed up in the video surveillance footage as somebody at the night of the Black Friday scenes a year earlier, someone who was there causing a lot of problems and chaos. So suddenly she's locking up the restaurant at night, and John Carver shows up, and it's that putting her head into the hot water and then going up to the deep freezer and sticking it to the side there, so she's forced to yank her face off the side of that thing, crawls her way away to a safe place where she thinks now she's. Then this is the part where I'm like, here's a typical horror movie trope. She's found a spot that the killer can't seem to get to her, and she decides to come out as soon as she hears a door click, as if the killer's gone away completely for good. So she finally goes outside, only to find her car out there, goes to get to it. The killer's in the car, drives into her, and crush into a garbage disposal that cuts her completely in half. Violent, gory, absolutely distasteful, but I loved every second of it. And the crazy kills don't stop from there, because I mean, we're talking even like the big one, which is the right at the end, like outside of the fact that this guy's beheading people, putting their heads on dinner plates and putting them at a dinner table with all the guest names being the ones he's targeting through tagging them on Instagram. But then there's the turkey scene. And the turkey scene, you'd think it would be bad enough to have to see a human being stuffed inside of a large enough oven to start cooking them like a Thanksgiving turkey. But then for the killer, once the killer's fully revealed, to actually, well, not fully revealed, sorry, in the mask, once everybody's kind of sat down and tied to the dinner table or whatever, including the owner of the store that wouldn't close on Black Friday and everybody that needs to get a taste of their medicine, according to the killer, now this human body is now shaped in the form of a Thanksgiving turkey, and the killer legitimately cuts a good chunk of the leg off and serves it to the store owner. And I was like, wow, I'm not surprised Eli Roth went there, but for a nationally released horror slasher film, I'm a little shocked they allowed him to go that far, because I know Eli Roth can go there, but things like Green Inferno did not get a large national release, so to speak, into major theaters like Thanksgiving has. So I'm shocked they allowed him to go there, but glad they didn't make him hold back, because despite how intense those scenes are, I think it still added to what gives this movie a little bit more of a voice and what makes it stand out from just being another copycat whodunit slasher.
Yeah, and thinking about, like you said, just the kills as a whole, I like how creative the killer was, to put it like that. It sounds terrible, but it just, like, aside from haunting them, it's just the fact that every kill was different. Every kill was like, we had that scene with the guy from the team. It's like he was one of the coaches. He just, moves his neck around, and he has him still standing there for us to see it. And he looks like he's staring at his girlfriend, but he's not. And then the girlfriend, being a cheerleader, she's in the trampoline, and she just starts stabbing her to the point that she's laying on the trampoline as it is. And I was like, holy moly, like, what else is he gonna do? And just like the kills in itself were so creative. And that's something like really shocking, that there was no kill that was the same as any other ones. Like, aside from the part of him haunting them, everything else was different to it. And I really like the creativity here. Or like you said, and not only that, but like cooking one of the victims is like, he didn't have like an MO to him. So I feel like if they were not already investigating him, it would have been difficult to like track him, because he wasn't killing people the same way. And thinking of, like you said, he used the fridge, he used a knife, he just moved their neck around and just like stabbed somebody. There were so many different ways and so many layers to it that I kept thinking, like, what the heck? How is he like doing this? So what I liked about it is like the killer in itself was very clever in that aspect. He didn't have like a style to him. It's just a matter of like eliminating the people that have to do with the Black Friday fiasco in some way, shape, or form. It's like, I gotta get rid of them. That was it. That was all his plan was. It didn't matter how it happened, as long as it happened.
Yeah, exactly. And we would find out a little bit more. And now it's time to talk about this finale in particular, and the reveal of the killer, which ends up being Sheriff Eric Newland, which is played by Patrick Dempsey, McDreamy as they call him, or Sydney's husband. It could be another one. But yeah, I was, in some ways, I sat there questioning, could it be him? Even my wife looked at me and she's like, do you think it's him? And I'm like, yes, and I'm not sure why, because I don't see him having a real motive right now. There's nothing that I can see from him that says this guy has got to be it because of this. kind of thing. And I couldn't make the connection until he reveals why. And he sat there telling them at the dinner table the reasoning behind it is because he was having an affair with the one guy's wife that got trampled and killed inside the Black Friday event. So he was avenging her death in a totally different way to the way that her husband was avenging it and trying to get the store closed down. He was doing it by going out and being on a murderous rage and turning into a complete psychopath. The one thing I do question, and I don't know your thoughts on this, do you feel he acted alone on this event? Because I feel like, especially the scene in the school, unless this was just someone being a jerk, that he was outside, if I'm not mistaken, at that time. So I'm wondering how it is that somebody managed to be in the school with the mask and everything like that if he was outside. Unless, again, it's a simple thing like in the original Scream where you had the two students dressed as Ghostface running through the halls and being absolute jerks just to scare people, because let's face it, there are sadistic people out there who will take a tragedy and turn it into something for their own amusement and entertainment. So I'm kind of curious, do you feel like he acted alone? And if he didn't act alone, do you foresee us finding out more with a sequel to this movie?
I feel like that would be cool because I kept thinking about that aspect later once he like reveal happened, because I kept thinking what I thought he was part of like the security for the parade. So how was he dressed up during the parade as something else and he took them off in the car? That was one of the things I was thinking. And thinking also of like the cell phone. I'm like, I don't think he would have been smart enough by himself to like do the location part of it, like the scene we talked about that the they had the phone directed to the TV so they wouldn't know where everything was happening. So those little parts like that, like you said, there's also that school scene that there's two other kids that get kidnapped, one of them being Addison Ray, his character, and he was in the front of the building like helping out and making sure the girls were secure. So some of the parts where I kept thinking it doesn't make sense. The part that really got me was before the review. Is what made me think about him, because it's one of those moments that when you have like when Roman fakes his death and you obviously like take him off the list because of that. That's what it reminded me of when he's in front of the cop car just laying on the ground and she tries to grab the ground and he's like, oh no, like he's inside and he just appeared like out of nowhere as that was happening. That was a moment that I kept thinking, where were you when the whole thing happened? Like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, where have you been before this happened? And like the way he made himself look like he got hurt in the process just to like kind of take him off the list is what made me think about him. But I did think of like there were parts of like it didn't make sense to me like he was the one. Because I'm like, he's the cop and I know he's in plain sight. And then like we saw that in Scream 6 as well. Like he's in plain sight literally as a cop here. So he can cover his tracks in some type of way. But like you said, the timing on some of the scenes, it wouldn't make sense for him to be the only person involved. Like when they show us the recap of when she's thinking back of all the moments with him in the scenes that they had together. Like even then when he says like don't trust anybody, like meaning him because he's talking about himself and the way that they pointed out all the people for him. So he already knew who to target because of them too. It just like I knew there were moments like that it makes sense him being there and working alone. But like you said, it's like thinking of like the parade. I thought he was part of the security. If I saw he's dressed up as something else, cuts his head up with somebody, and then heads to the car and takes him away. I was like, weren't you not in a uniform a few minutes ago? Like, how does that work there? So those two, that one and the school one, and just the part of like cell phone as a whole, those two made me think of like he wasn't entirely alone, or like he learned from somebody else because that was kind of odd the timing there.
And I can guarantee you, as a writer-director, Eli Roth did not do that accidentally and make a mistake. Eli Roth did it with the hopes that people would talk about it, I'm sure. And even in a recent interview, Eli Roth has admitted that he has expressed interest in continuing the storyline, even though originally it was planned as a standalone production. During filming, he did bring up ideas for continuing the series of Thanksgiving. So it is very likely that with the current success of the film, I mean, this is a fresh rating that it got with Rotten Tomatoes. So critically, it's a success. Fans absolutely love it. It is making money at the box office. So I believe we can officially say within the first week that Thanksgiving, in terms of a horror movie, has been a success for everybody involved. So it would be shocking if they didn't make a sequel to this movie. And I hope that a lot of those questions we have get answered. And fingers crossed, please, Eli Roth, be back on this thing. Because, I mean, as much as I don't mind seeing different directors' takes on things, I think that with this being his idea, we at least need the first sequel to come from the original director before we allow it to spin off into something that people take over from there.
Yeah, I think it would be cool for him to, like you said, maybe take a story from somewhere else and something similar to another Black Friday and do something similar to it, or even continue on somebody trying to haunt the kids that were able to survive this time around and try to hunt them down again and see what happens like so many years later when they think they're off the hook and somebody comes in to haunt them again. So it's like I feel like they could take so many routes with this, and I really like that about the movie. And like you said, it was such a creative way to do everything. When I thought about Black Friday, like the Black Friday being like the story behind this, I kept thinking, how does that make sense? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I couldn't picture it, like even the opening scene. But once that happened, I just kept thinking, I definitely would love to see this again or see something like similar to this because it was amazing. It really was, and it was better than I thought it was going to be. Because I don't want to say I had low expectations, but I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect. It's the first time I watched one of the movies like this without it looking too much into it, so I didn't know what to go into the movie. But once I watched it and I finished it, and I like how it got me too because I don't get scared anymore because of horror movies. In this one, it got me in 2 jump scares, which is
Yeah.
surprising to me. And it's like, and obviously my coworker next to me, she jumped even more than I did. And I kept thinking, you're a horror movie fan. Why are you jumping so much? But to get me at least 2 times in the movie, when none of the other movies that I've seen recently have gotten me that way, I was like, I'll give it props for that too.
Yeah, it was very well done in every aspect there. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, you can't keep slasher movies fresh in the sense that you look at it and go, well, this has never been done before. Yes, we've seen movies with a killer in a mask. We've seen whodunits. We've seen a group of teens stalked by a killer. We've seen use of technology. You can break down everything in this movie and say we've seen that, but what makes it good? What makes it good is good writing, good direction, good acting. And that's what we got across the board here. It's understanding the genre and it's understanding the market that it serves at the same time too. So Eli Roth knew what he was getting himself into. He knew what audience he had to appeal to, and that's what he aimed to do, was just make a solid slasher film, and he has done just that, and it could end up being the next big franchise that we get. I definitely foresee it being the next big franchise. Unlike yourself, again, like I said, I had lots of knowledge going into this thing, not only being a big Eli Roth fan, but being a fan of when I went to go see the Grindhouse Pictures when they opened back then, and seeing all these trailers and just thinking, I want every one of these trailers to become a movie now, like every single one. I'm still waiting for Rob Zombie's Werewolf Women of the SS to come out one of these days, but we'll see. That's one of the last ones that I'm sure we're going to get out of this grouping. But the fact that we finally got Thanksgiving is a big A+ from me. I highly recommend this movie to anybody. This is a rewatchable slasher film for me to add to the collection. I love it. I'm looking forward to now seeing a new slasher series franchise being birthed in 2023, and I hope this continues and we get to see much more of the John Carver character moving forward. How about yourself? The final thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely recommend it, and definitely let us know how you feel about it afterwards. Like I said, I feel like it was a great balance of being funny and gory and having that slasher and that whodunit and kind of like this guess who kind of thing to it, and just the special effects on these kills and the story behind it was so unique. And I loved every bit of it. Like I said, it's like I loved the characters and the way that everything happened at the end. I feel like everything wrapped up so well too. Like any questions that I had were answered at the end, so I didn't have any. It's nice to see a movie that wraps up so well like this. And even thinking of like you see people like Addison Rae, who was like I was not having high expectations for her because I might I don't like this TikTokers being involved in stuff like this, but she did very well in the movie. So I was like, oh, that's not too bad for a TikToker and a dancer. So yeah, I'll give her props for that. And like I said, it's like, the final girl, she did incredible too. I loved her, like her emotions on screen, how smart she was, trying to find ways to protect her friends and, how emotional she was as she's losing her friends through this whole, this whole experience. So to see two new girls being the final girls that are like something new and fresh, I loved it from beginning to end. I hope to watch it again. If I don't get to watch it in theaters, I'll probably watch it either DVD or streaming platforms wherever it lands after leaving the theaters. So it's nice to see a horror movie around another holiday that isn't just Halloween. I'm hoping that if he does do a Thanksgiving sequel, then maybe jump to another holiday because I would like to see something else too. I feel like it will bring so many different ideas now, thinking about different holidays being involved in horror too. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it and let us know in the comments how you thought about it. If you agree with us, disagree with us, just be simple about it though.
That's right. Be civil. Always be respectful. Always be just be nice in general. That's what we recommend. If you want to get your kick of not nice, go watch these movies and then watch these nasty people do their nasty stuff. And yeah, just love each other otherwise. But as we wrap up here, I want to tell everybody to head on over to our sponsors. That's rogueenergy.com. You're going to be able to use that promo code OLEPods. It's going to get you 10% off your order. They are an alternative energy drink, more of a refreshing powder mix that you can get. Cans are available if you're a U.S. resident. So go check out our good friends over at rogueenergy.com. How about OLE Podcasts? So we are all over the place, whether it be on Twitch or on YouTube that you're watching this. You could also be watching this on the Video Bros Network or on Astrid's personal accounts as well, too. Please do like, follow, subscribe, all those wonderful things, but also check us out on all social media platforms, including Threads, Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok as well too. We are on all of those, so you can go follow and check us out there. But yes, from there, Astrid, why don't you let the wonderful people know about your socials and what you got coming up here?
I forget I muted myself. I'll say at least on a weekly basis, you can watch me on Tuesdays doing Taking Over with OLL as we talk about NXT following the show. And bi-weekly, I do have a podcast with my good friend Mel at Ladies Wrestling Showcase, which is always on my YouTube if you haven't caught up on old episodes. Hopefully now with the holidays being a little bit less hectic, we'll be able to pick that back up as I am not working as much, thankfully. But other than that, everything else like Killer Cuts and even my reading vlogs you can find on my YouTube channel, which is just Astrid Pizarro. And other than that, you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky Astrid Pizarro, Instagram, and Threads, Astrid Pizarro 20.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then you can go check me out on the things below. That includes X, Instagram, Threads. You can check out my personal Twitch channel. And you can also check me out as part of the commentary team at Prairie Pro Wrestling every single Saturday, myself and Papa Smokes. And speaking of which, if you're watching this show on Thanksgiving Thursday, tonight, myself and Papa Smokes are bringing back WTF Do We Know About Wrestling Pub Trivia Night, Part 5. So come in and enjoy and participate in the YouTube and Twitch channels there for that wonderful show as well, too. We want to thank all of you for tuning in to another chapter of Killer Cuts, and here's to many more to come. Thank you very much. Enjoy your horror movies, and we'll see you all soon.